Most snowfall.
The flooding and wind concerns on the South Shore.
The impact the storm is having on people trying to get the coronavirus vaccine.
And there is more on the way. Right now, at 6 o'clock, heavy wet snow is coating most of the area. Give you a live look in Natick as we look out over the Mass Pike. The storm, well, has had it all so far. Some wind, some sleet, and the potential for flooding as well.
Yeah, and the snow definitely coming down hard west of Boston. These were the conditions earlier in Worcester. The plows out in force after that snow began to ramp up. Fortunately, a lot of people are heeding the advice to stay off the road because it is definitely slick out there.
And here is the proof in Hingham. A driver rolling over on Route 3 North just before exit 35.
And here you can see this time-lapse video over Boston, the visibility going down over as the day went on. Right now, there is a snow emergency in the city and a parking ban also in effect through tomorrow afternoon.
The heaviest snow is falling right now as we speak. Good evening to you. I'm David Wade.
And I'm Lisa Hughes. We're expecting more snow overnight. Our team coverage begins this evening with our chief meteorologist, Eric Fisher, and definitely a defined rain snow line here, Eric.
Well, this is a pretty classic setup where you've got a nor'easter rotating in the snow bands, and then you've got that rain snow line, the coastal front setting right up around 128, which is going to produce some big differences in snow totals from inland areas to the immediate shoreline. We've got over a foot of snow in New York today. I think they're going to be approaching 2 feet in parts of Connecticut, especially around the Litchfield Hills. And we're catching up quick here locally, especially in the interior, where the biggest totals are going to be. We have 1 to 2 inch per hour rates in Leominster, Groton, Lowell, over through Acton, along the Route 2 corridor as well. Heavy snowfall. Boston, big flakes in the city, but once you head toward the water, it's mostly rain. Same story right along the water, up through places like Revere Beach and into Nahant. Gloucester, Cape Ann, mostly looking at rainfall, even though it's showing up a little differently on radar. And same idea on the South Shore, that coastal boundary pushing in, mostly rainfall, and that rain line will continue to move into southeastern Mass as the night goes on. So here's a look at the visibility, and you can see where rain's mixing in. Better visibility. 2 miles in Boston, 2 miles in Taunton now, as well as Marshfield, but a half-mile visibility in Worcester, as well as Lawrence in those heavier snow bands. There's a look at the big temperature spread from the mid to upper 30s on Cape Ann to sub-freezing west of 128. It's been holding very similar around the Boston area and the South Shore from the mid-30s, even 37 on Duxbury Beach right now. And then you get into the colder air off to the west. Winds gusting over 40 out there at times, and the rain-snow line will be something to track as it continues to push up across the southeastern part of the state. Meanwhile, heavy snow will add up quick for all the inland areas. Most of the steadiest winds down a little after midnight tonight. So 9 to 14 for the interior, but some localized higher amounts in the Worcester Hills where that banding sets up, and much lower near the water. Sharp cutoff if you're at the shore. It's a coating to a few inches of snow and then rain on top of all of it. So let's go outside to WBZ Sarah Wroblewski, who's been watching the snowfall here on the western side of Boston, which looks a little different than the coastline side of the city.
Absolutely, Eric. And I'm telling you, these snowflakes coming down are enormous, and they are stacking up and steady. We're continuing to see the snow accumulate here on the untreated surfaces. I've got the Chevy Mobile Weather Lab behind me, and as we're monitoring the traffic, it is a little bit slow, but the plows are treating the roads and making it okay for now. But it's the visibility, because the snow is coming down so hard right now, and these snowflakes are so big. You're noticing that it's pretty difficult to see, and with the winds whipping, we are going to be watching for, once again, the visibility to be an issue, and it's piling up in some locations. Take a look at some of our snow reports so far. Well, we picked up perhaps under an inch in Boston, not officially yet. Go north and west, and you're already stacking up to seeing a few inches there. Waltham coming in with 4 inches. Fitchburg now over 5. Grafton as well. So if you're going to be traveling, keep in mind the snow will continue to pile up through the interior, but that visibility definitely going to be an issue as we have it under a quarter of a mile in some spots. We're also going to watch as the worst travel conditions will be for the next several hours as those steady bands come on through. There's the latest outside of the studio. Lisa?
All right, Sarah, thanks so much. Sarah mentioned visibility. Take a look at Natick right now, where the snow is definitely ramping up and travel is not easy. WBZ's Paul Burton joins us. He's actually live now in Bridgewater with a look at the conditions there. Paul?
Well, you know, it started off with light snow. Then it got to heavy snow. Then it turned to a little sleet and rain. Now it's back to heavy snow with a lot of wind. The roads are treacherous. When it snows heavy like this, it's tough to see.
Visibility when you're plowing.
especially if it's coming down an inch, 2, 3 inches an hour.
He joined the parade of plows that took to the road this afternoon. By the evening commute, the snow was really coming down hard. Lisa Gunderday took care of her to-do list before the storm.
The plan is to get home before the snow starts, put my warm PJs on, sit by a cozy knit fire, let it snow.
Truck driver Dave Askham got an early jump on the day for his deliveries.
What I do delivering materials is the timing of the storm. This one's going to come in light, but it's going to be real heavy overnight.
I hope people stay off the roads. It'd be a lot easier to plow and do our job.
And you can see how slushy it is here in Bridgewater. That's snow and ice and melt mixing all together, making it for some very slippery roadways. So people really need to be careful. Don't go out if you don't have to give the plows the space they need to do their jobs. Reporting live in Bridgewater, I'm Paul Burton, WBZ News.
All right, Paul, thank you. So that's a look at one of our major highways. Now we can give you a look from Mobile 4 of what it looks like on Route 9 in Southborough, although it looks like we pulled over for a moment. The snow definitely coming down at a pretty good clip. The crews have been out there trying to keep the roads clear, and they're doing a pretty good job. WBZ's Tiffany Chan is live in Natick tonight. She's alongside the Mass Pike, and Tiffany, officials really urging people to try to stay home if they can.
Yeah, David, and that's because within the last hour, we've seen that the snow has become more dense. So we're seeing these thick, heavy snowflakes coming down quicker and at a heavier pace. I want to show you the accumulation here by the Mass Pike. It's this thick and fluffy snow, but it's really building up. MassDOT deploying plows on the roadways, but conditions are still very tough, especially when wind is involved. A band of snow plows inched along the Mass Pike in Natick.
It seems like the highways are starting to pick up. Very slippery.
The nor'easter picked up quickly. Light flurries turned into heavy, thick snowflakes in a matter of hours, creating whiteout conditions for this family who had to cut their trip to Jiminy Peak short.
It's actually horrible. And if I don't need to be out here, I don't want to be out here. There's lots of spinouts and it's pretty treacherous.
From bad to worse as the winds intensified west of Boston. Drivers who stopped to gas up say they could barely see out of their windshields.
If I was going much further than Boston, I probably wouldn't be driving because visibility is getting a little questionable for sure.
With the snow coming down at a heavy clip, it was tough for the plows to keep up, creating a messy commute on the Pike.
Even on my way over here from Framingham, it was I was like sliding a little bit, so you can't really drive.
With the snow intensifying by the hour, drivers are gearing up for a long night ahead.
Just really clenching the steering wheel.
And now that the sun's gone down and it is dark out, visibility is even worse than it was before. MassDOT is restricting tractor trailers from traveling on the Pike to keep the roadways safe. They're also urging people to stay off the roadways as we brace for this storm. From Natick, I'm Tiffany Chan for WBZ News.
Good advice, given what's coming down there. Tiffany, thank you. Now, the weather did have an impact on the first day of vaccinations at Fenway Park. WBZ's Beth Germano is live outside the ballpark tonight. And Beth, organizers had to make a few changes there because of the storm.
Well, the original plan was to close the mass vaccination site here at Fenway Park a little early at 1 o'clock this afternoon because of weather concerns. But since this heavier snow didn't start picking up until late this afternoon, that plan changed, and they kept it open until its original closing time of 5 o'clock. They did some juggling, but everyone who had an appointment and wanted it still got it.
A snowy scene in Boston didn't keep Fenway Park from becoming a full house for vaccinations.
Thank you.
And Mary Mayrez was not about to miss her first shot on opening day.
How relieved are you to finally be getting your vaccine, your shot?
I'm very relieved if I can get it. We'll see how much standing.
There's a long line. It takes about, I would say it took about an hour to get through the line.
Afternoon appointments were asked to come earlier due to the forecast.
The news said come an hour early.
Yep, you can come whenever. I just need the confirmation.
But as long as anyone had an appointment today, they were let in. But anticipated cancellations due to the weather, operators of the site were careful about opening vials so no vaccine would be wasted.
We went slower in opening vials. By the time you puncture a vial, it needs to be used in a certain time. So every time we did that, just even starting now, we know more or less how many more people we expect.
I'm right through here. Thank you.
bringing out Red Sox fans feeling lucky to get this location.
It brings back wonderful memories. This guy took to all the games, so it's great. I'd like to go to another game.
I'm excited about the shot, of course, but being inside Fenway and to see all the... I'm a huge Red Sox fan, and I've only been here about 3 or 4 times, so it was just great. It just feels so good.
The goal was to administer at least 500 doses today, and it will likely be met as the decision was made to keep the Fenway site open for the day, though the weather added to some nerves.
Were you nervous about the storm and maybe...
Yes, I was nervous about the storm. I was nervous getting here.
And organizers of the site here say if there were extra doses due to cancellations, they already had a running list of eligible people working here at the Fenway site. They got those doses and nothing went to waste. And they will be open as scheduled tomorrow from 9 to 5. Reporting live from outside Fenway Park, I'm Beth Germano, WBZ News.
All right, Beth, thank you. We can give you today's update on the coronavirus numbers in Massachusetts. There are about 2,200 new cases, but that's out of 88,000 tests. 30 more deaths were reported by the state. The state's positivity rate for 7 days is now down to 3.5%. Those numbers moving in the right direction. And speaking of the right direction, the state just gave us an update on vaccines. More than 1 million doses have been shipped to Massachusetts, and now 59% of those, about 627,000, have been administered. So 59% is where they stand now. Last week, the number was at 51%, so a pretty good improvement there as well. Well, the snow isn't the only threat during this storm.
Coming up next here at 6 o'clock, the wind and flooding concerns for people on the South Shore.
Now, wind is howling, especially near the water. We'll take a look at the forecast for the overnight and who's going to be seeing the jackpot totals when all is said and done.